All right, get ready because we're diving deep into Harry Potter today, but with a twist.
A twist.
Yeah, we're talking about the Dursleys.
Yes.
You know, Harry's awful relatives.
Right.
But there's this fan theory that says they're more than just awful.
Oh.
It suggests they each embody one of the 7 deadly sins.
That's interesting. It definitely makes them more than just unpleasant relatives.
Exactly.
Kind of turns them into like these classic vices.
Yeah. And we're going deep into a fan analysis that breaks it all down.
Cool.
And honestly, it's pretty convincing. So, where do we even start with this?
Well, I guess we could start with the big guy of the house.
Vernon.
Yeah, Vernon Dursley. The theory says he's gluttony.
Okay, that seems kind of obvious.
On the surface level, yeah.
He loves his food.
Big meals.
There are tons of descriptions of his overeating, like in both the books and the movies.
Yeah, you always picture him with like a big plate of food.
Yeah, exactly. But is it more than just the food?
Definitely.
Is there something deeper going on?
The document says that Vernon's gluttony goes beyond just eating. It's like this need for more in every part of his life.
Oh, interesting.
You know, like he wants a bigger house, a nicer car, a better job.
He's always trying to, like, climb the ladder?
Yeah, he's constantly trying to get more, have more, control more.
It's almost like his need to control Harry's magic comes from that same place.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because magic is something he can't buy or control.
You can't control it, he can't consume it.
Right. It's
Yeah.
not like a thing he can just buy and own.
It completely disrupts his world.
It disrupts his perfect little world of, like, stuff.
Of material possessions, social status, all that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting because it really clashes with the wizarding world and their values.
Oh, that's true.
Remember how wizards look down on material wealth?
Right. They care more about knowledge and magical ability.
It's like a totally different set of values.
Yeah. So from the start, you see this clash.
Yeah. A clash between the mundane and the magical.
It's not just Vernon being a jerk.
Right, it's deeper than that.
It's like this clash between materialism and something almost spiritual.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Okay, so we talked about Vernon.
Yeah.
Now we have to talk about Petunia.
Petunia Dursley, the queen of passive aggression.
Right. And the theory says she represents envy.
And that makes sense.
It really fits, especially with her relationship with Lily.
Harry's mom.
Right, Lily. The document really points out how much Petunia envied Lily's magic, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. Like, it talks about how Petunia always wanted to be the center of attention.
Yeah, she wanted to be special.
And then her sister gets magic powers.
She's outshone by her own sister.
Totally. And that envy just, like, festers for years.
It turns into resentment.
Especially towards Harry.
Yeah, he's like a symbol of everything she wanted.
He's a walking reminder of what she doesn't have.
You can almost feel bad for her, in a way.
It is kind of a tragic element.
This unfulfilled potential just poisoned by envy.
Yeah, for sure. So we're seeing how these sins add, like, a whole new layer to these characters.
They're not just mean for no reason.
Right. It's not just about them being mean. It's like we're seeing the root of that meanness.
We're seeing their flaws.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of flaws, we can't forget Dudley,
Oh, Dudley.
the poster child for greed.
He really is. He's like the perfect example of what happens when greed is just totally unchecked.
Just totally out of control.
Yeah. He always wants more toys, more treats, more attention.
He's always throwing tantrums, hoarding stuff.
Yeah. Textbook greed.
But is it all his fault, though?
What do you mean?
The document mentions how his parents really enable him.
Oh, right.
Like their own sins kind of fuel his greed.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like Vernon's need for control translates into spoiling Dudley.
He wants to control everything, so he controls Dudley by giving him whatever he wants.
Yeah, and maybe Petunia, wanting that attention she never got, also spoils him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it creates this cycle of just wanting more and more.
They're teaching him that greed is okay.
Wow, so even in one family, these sins are, like, intertwined?
They feed off each other.
It's like they create this toxic environment.
It makes you wonder what Dudley would have been like without Harry around.
Oh, that's a good question.
You know, someone who actually challenges his selfishness.
Right. It makes you think about the power of influence.
How our environment shapes us.
But before we go too far down that road, we have to talk about Aunt March.
Oh, Aunt
The
Mar.
Dursleys we all love to hate.
The theory links her to wrath.
And that seems pretty spot on.
Yeah, she's like a walking time bomb.
Always ready to explode.
Right. The document even points out how her visits are always full of anger.
Insults, just this bad energy.
Usually directed at Harry, of course.
Always at Harry. But it's more than just her temper, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it goes way deeper. Her anger is fueled by this, like, strict adherence to social norms.
She's got her own rule book.
And she hates anyone who's different.
She hates anyone who doesn't fit in her little box.
It's like she sees the world in black and white.
Good and bad, right and wrong.
If you don't fit in, she judges you.
Yeah, she's quick to judge.
And that kind of ties into pride, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
This feeling that she's better than everyone else.
Like her way is the only way.
Exactly. And actually, that leads us to the next part of the theory.
Okay.
The other three sins, sloth, pride, and lust, are given to the Dursleys as a group.
Not to individuals.
Right, as a whole unit.
Huh. I'm curious to hear more about that. What do you think about that?
Well, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like these sins are part of their family dynamic.
Like woven into their DNA.
Exactly. It's like it shapes how they act and how they see the world.
Okay, I am officially intrigued.
So where should we start with their collective sins?
What should we focus on first?
Well, with sloth, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Like when you think about how they live,
Mm.
it's all about comfort and routine.
It is, yeah.
Like they just want to coast through life.
And avoid anything that rocks the boat.
Exactly. Anything that disrupts their normal life.
Oh, remember all those descriptions of like their lawn?
Yeah.
Perfectly manicured.
Perfect lawn, perfect house.
They're obsessed with keeping up appearances.
Yeah. It's like they don't want anything to change.
Like they're resisting any challenge.
Yeah. They don't want to step out of their comfort zone.
Total complacency.
And that's a classic sign of sloth.
Yeah, they're happy to just like go through the motions.
Oblivious to the rest of the world.
Even when something amazing like magic is right there,
They just ignore it.
it's like they choose to be ignorant.
Rather than learn and grow.
It's kind of sad, actually.
It is, yeah. Like they're missing out on so much.
Because they're too scared to challenge their worldview.
Exactly. And that fear, that need to be in control, that connects to their pride.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They want to appear normal.
And you need to fit in.
They have this narrow view of what's acceptable.
And anything outside that is just a threat.
It's like their whole identity is built on being ordinary.
And magic is like the opposite of ordinary.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah. So they have to reject it.
They have to push it away.
It makes me think about how their need for control and this obsession with being normal
Right.
is kind of like some real-world anxieties.
Oh, interesting.
You know, like people being afraid of the unknown.
Afraid of things they don't understand.
Yeah. And the other, like, anyone different.
It's a good parallel.
It makes them almost like a reflection of us, in a way.
Yeah, the Dursleys show us this very human tendency.
To fear what we don't get.
And cling to what's familiar.
Even when it's not good for us.
Right, even when it's holding us back.
Okay, so that's sloth and pride.
Yeah.
Now, what about lust?
Oh, this one's interesting.
Because it seems kind of out of place, right?
Right. When we think of lust, we usually think of something else entirely.
Yeah, like something completely different. So how does this fit the Dursleys?
Well, remember, it's their collective lust,
As a group.
not as individuals.
Okay, so what are they lusting after?
The document says it's not physical lust. It's a social lust.
Social.
Yeah, like a craving for acceptance.
Oh. They want people to like them.
Exactly. They want to be validated by their community.
They want to look good in front of the neighbors.
They need to be seen as respectable.
And that's why they're so horrible to Harry.
In part, yeah.
They're afraid of what people will think.
If they accept his magic,
If they accept him.
they're so desperate to fit
Yes,
in.
they're willing to be awful.
It's like their lust for social status.
Blinds them to everything else.
Yeah, they can't see the harm they're causing.
It's like they've chosen image over everything else.
Conformity over compassion.
It's just the opposite of the wizarding world.
Exactly. They value individuality.
Acceptance. Being different.
It's a stark contrast.
It makes the Dursley sins seem even worse, somehow.
Yeah, they really highlight the clash between these two worlds.
You know, the muggle world and the magical world.
Totally different values.
This whole analysis is making me rethink the Dursleys' role in the story.
How so?
They're not just obstacles for Harry. They represent this whole set of anxieties
Fears, values.
that Harry has to overcome.
He has to reject them to become who he is.
Exactly. And that rejection is how he embraces magic.
He finds acceptance at Hogwarts.
He finds love.
He finds a place where being different is celebrated.
It's like his journey is this rejection of everything the Dursleys are.
And everything they stand for.
He chooses love over fear.
Courage over complacency.
Acceptance over prejudice.
It makes his victory over Voldemort even more powerful.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's not just about defeating a bad guy,
It's about choosing the right path.
choosing the right way to live.
Wow. You've really opened my eyes to this.
I'm glad.
It makes me think we all project our own stuff onto the Dursleys.
What do you mean?
Like our own fears and anxieties.
Oh, interesting.
Because we all have those Dursley moments, right?
Times when we choose comfort over growth.
Or conformity over compassion.
It's part of being human.
So this theory isn't just about fictional characters.
It's about us.
It's about recognizing our own flaws.
And the flaws we see in the world.
That's the mark of great literature, isn't it?
It makes you think about yourself.
It holds up a mirror
To human nature.
This deep dive is blowing my mind.
I told you it was a good one.
There's still so much to talk about.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to how their sins affect Harry.
We've touched on it, but there's more to explore.
Definitely.
But I think we need a break.
Okay, let's take a moment to gather our thoughts.
We'll be right back.
Okay, we're back. And we're still deep diving into the Dursleys as the 7 deadly sins. I'm still kind of processing that last part.
It is a lot to take in.
The idea that we have these flaws in ourselves.
Yeah, those Dursley moments.
It's a little unsettling.
Yeah.
But also really interesting.
It's definitely challenging to confront those darker parts of ourselves.
But it's part of what makes this theory so fascinating.
For sure.
It's not just about these fictional characters.
Right.
It's about understanding human nature.
It makes you think about the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of understanding, I'm really curious about how the Dursley sins affect Harry, especially as a unit.
Right, as a family. How do their collective sins impact him?
We've mentioned it a bit, but I think we can dig deeper.
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine growing up in that environment.
Surrounded by all that negativity.
Gluttony, envy, greed, wrath, all of it.
It's like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it really is.
But Harry comes out of it.
Relatively okay.
Yeah. He doesn't become a mini Vernon or Petunia.
It's amazing, right?
He's surrounded by all this darkness.
But he still has this goodness inside him.
This capacity for love and compassion.
It's really remarkable.
It makes you think about the resilience of the human spirit.
Even when things are bad,
We can still choose a different path.
we can choose the light.
This reminds me of that line from Sirius.
Oh, yeah, in Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, where he says, the world isn't split into good people and Death Eaters.
Right.
We've all got both light and dark inside us.
What matters is the part we choose to act on.
That's who we really are.
Powerful words.
And Harry, even with the Dursleys, he chooses the light.
He chooses to be kind,
To be brave, to be selfless.
even when he's surrounded by the opposite.
It's like he's rebelling against everything they stand for.
Yeah, their need for normalcy,
Their fear of anything different.
their rigid rules,
Harry rejects it all.
and he embraces the things they hate,
Magic, being different.
believing in something bigger than themselves.
It makes his journey even more inspiring.
It's not just a fight against Voldemort.
It's a fight against the darkness inside him.
The darkness he could have easily given into.
It's a battle we all face, in a way,
Yeah, we all have those moments.
where we're tempted to be like the Dursleys.
We feel envy, greed, anger.
But Harry's story shows us we have a choice.
We can rise above it.
We can be better.
It's a powerful message, especially for younger readers.
Oh, totally. They might be going through the same thing.
Struggling with those negative feelings.
And it shows them they're not alone.
Even in dark times, there's always hope.
It also shows how important it is to have good people around you.
People who support you.
Like Dumbledore, Sirius, the Weasleys.
They're the opposite of the Dursleys.
They show Harry a different way to be.
A better way.
They show him what love and acceptance really mean.
It's a powerful contrast.
This has been such an amazing deep dive.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I'm seeing the Dursleys completely differently now.
And Harry's relationship with them.
It's not just about overcoming challenges.
It's about the triumph of good.
over evil,
It's about the choices we make.
both in the world and in ourselves.
Well said.
It reminds us that even minor characters,
Can have deep meaning.
the Dursleys, show us what Harry has to overcome
They represent the things we all need to fight against.
to grow and evolve.
It's like they're a warning sign.
A reminder of what not to be.
This theory has given us so much to think about.
It's made us question things
It's made us look at the story in new ways.
and even look at ourselves a little differently.
That's the power of good literature, isn't it?
It makes you think. It makes you question.
It opens up new perspectives.
It's been a real journey of discovery.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
That's true. This is just one interpretation.
There's always more to explore.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
I hope you enjoyed it.
But before we go, I want to leave you with this. If the Dursleys represent these flaws we all have, and Harry shows us we can overcome them, what choices are we making? Are we choosing the light, or are we letting the darkness win? It's a question worth thinking about. as we go through life with all its complexities. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.